The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions of WBGR Network. Any questions or concerns about what is said should be directed to the show host, whose information will be provided upon request.
Welcome to Charlotte Black Morning Coffee. A new perspective. Good morning, everybody. This has been quite a morning. And as I was getting ready for the show, I kept thinking, just kept feeling off. You know what I mean? Like, not quite. Not that I wasn't ready, just off. And, I kind of pride myself on keeping it real, even when keeping it real is not as sexy as we would like. But, to me, part of the, whole premise of the show is to show people that it's okay to be in whatever energy you're in. I mean, sometimes we just have to embrace it and sit with it. So anyway, starting this morning off, that's kind of how I was. It actually started off the beginning of the week, you know what I mean? Typically, when I leave a show, I go home, I upload the old show, and I start working on the format for the new show or the topic. I didn't do that this time. I was just like, nah, I'm good. I kind of know where, it'll come to me. It didn't come to me. I played around with some ideas during the week, you know what I mean? Flipping them around in my mind, going, okay, we could do that. I'm going to write it out. Didn't do it. And, by the time last night came, right, I had all these plans. I'm going to go do this, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to have this done, and didn't do it. So this morning, I did have some ideas going on in my mind about what I wanted to talk about, healthy boundaries. Again, that came in my meditation bath is where I got that. And so I just said, okay, I'm going with that. So anyway, I hope everybody's doing well this morning. I'm going to talk about a couple of different things. But first, I wanted to just extend my gratitude and thanks for everyone who watches and supports. That really means a lot. You know what I mean? Because honestly, this morning, if there was ever a morning where I wanted to say F it all, this would have been the morning. But, at the end of the day, I realized that it's just an energy I'm in, and you can't counter an energy, by staying in it, just wallowing in it. So, I mean, you can, but I decided that I didn't want to, that's not how I wanted to go out. You know what I mean? I felt like I honor how I'm feeling, which is why I'm telling you. But at the same time, it was like, nah, I'm not going to let this, overcome me. So, I got it together and came on in. You know what I'm saying? So I would have done it anyway, but it was just paying attention to the process, right? So I'm going through all these feelings and stuff, and typically we just go through it and we throw shit or we kick stuff or we do whatever, right? And then we just move on, or, talking crazy to people all day. That's not fair, right? So I decided to kind of just sit in it for a minute, embrace it, feel it, understand where I'm at, and then just move beyond it. Just let it go. You know what I mean? So that's what I did. So anyway, I know that there are a million different things you could be doing this morning, and instead you're sitting here watching this video or this show, and I appreciate it. I just wanted to extend my gratitude and appreciation. Heard about a lot of folks losing family members this week. My condolences go out to the Gates family who lost their mother. Known Miss Gates for a really long time. I'm not sure if I talked about it on last show or not. I don't remember. But anyway, I just want to extend my condolences to the family. Vi Gates was something, y'all. For those of y'all watching from Sierra Vista, you know what I'm talking about. Vi Gates was something, man. She put on a mean fashion show. She did a lot for the community, and at the time when we were growing up, she was really, kind of an agent, um, probably like an agent for productive creative expression through fashion. And it worked. It worked. We stayed busy. She didn't take no mess neither. It was like, listen, didn't I tell you turn that spin, make that spin right there, the pivot right there. She was. So anyway, she will be missed. Who else was on here? Oh, also to my friend Diane, who lost her younger brother, um, Diane Hobby. Um, my condolences to you as well. I think I reached out on Facebook, but I just wanted to say publicly my condolences. And really condolences to anyone who has lost anyone. Um, I don't know. I think that a lot of times when we see the big stars and they lose, people die, and we give them this big send off, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything from it. I think the point that I'm trying to make is their loss is important. Someone, whether they're big in the show business or no one even knows them, it's still important, because a fabric, it's like we are the pieces that hold the fabric of life together. And whenever one of those pieces is ripped away, it makes an impact. Whether you're feeling it or not, there's a vibration it carries. And so, with that, I think that anyone passing should be honored. And that is what I'm doing this morning. So, taking it to a higher note, I want to talk about coronavirus and the opening of businesses. So businesses are starting to open up around the area, and I don't have no judgment about it, honestly. I mean, everybody has their own feelings about, whether it's too soon or it's not too soon. But I tell you, staying in the house can be like crazy, right? It could be crazy, and sometimes you just need to break out. So, my girlfriend, actually, Tone, the one that supports me all the time, and, traveling grace to her, she has a birthday coming up, y'all. So make sure if you're on Facebook and you see her, send her a shout out. But anyway, she has a birthday coming up, and she wanted to celebrate before she traveled. And so we decided on a little spot a friend of mine, co-owns and manages. And so we went out there. And, with coronavirus, right, it's not like it's full blown open. I think it's open from like 5 to 10, like 5 hours. And, of course, they have the social distancing, and they do the temperature when you walk in, and you have to call ahead. So they really have set up a lot of measures to protect people and keep them distanced and everything, while also trying to provide them with some kind of an outlet and having a good time. And it was a really, really nice spot. It was the Hideout in Springfield, Virginia. Very, very nice spot. I told them that I was going to give them a shout out. And although I went last weekend, I got so caught up kind of in the topic and talking with Madeline that I forgot. So I wanted to make sure I gave them a shout out this morning. But it is a really, really nice spot. We had a really good time. We had our own little table, and all the tables were, appropriately spaced apart. And the music was good. The food was good. The entertainment, i.e. DJ Major, was was good. So he's a character, a good friend of mine, known for many, many, many years. So I try to support him, as much as I can, whenever I can, and vice versa. Whenever I'm having a party, he comes out and supports with the DJ. In fact, I just confirmed that he's going to be coming to Sierra Vista next year to support an event I'm doing. So I'm real excited about that. But anyway, just wanted to give them a shout out. But the one thing I did think about with the coronavirus was, they say they open these restaurants or whatever. Well, the restaurants are opening back up, and they do it like from a certain period of time. And I haven't really been, following the virus too closely. I try not to like really obsess over it. So, my question was, well, we're protecting from the virus. I get it, right? And the restaurants are open from like, I don't know what, 5 to 10, or whatever the time frame is. So is the virus inactive from 5 to 10? I mean, I'm not even trying to be funny, for real, for real. I'm not. But I'm like, so is it inactive from 5 to 10? I don't, is it less active during a particular time of the day? I don't know. I mean, I'm just asking the question. But, I'm asking a question, but then I still went out, right? I felt fine. I didn't have any issues. It was good. It was good. And it was good to be out for a little bit, even if it had to be in the middle of the day. I mean, people still doing what they got to do. People got to go get gas and groceries and, all kinds of stuff. We still got to live. So I get it. But I don't know. That was the question that came in my head. I thought it was a little bit comical. I'm like, I don't know, maybe. So anyway, moving on. In the weather news, winter storms. Man, let me tell you something. There is always something, right? If we not faced with hurricanes, we faced with the winter storms. But what can you do, right? I mean, it is what it is. The only thing we can really do is prepare for it and make sure that we're prepared for it. Comes every year. Every single year, we know the season. We know that. We don't know how the storm's going to respond. We don't know how difficult the storms will be, but we know the storms are coming. So, with that being said, I just say prepare yourself the way that is as much as you can. Watch the news. Be mindful of what's happening. I mean, I have to be honest. I'm guilty of that. I mean, I went a long time and I wouldn't even turn it on because I was so disgusted. I was like, oh, I'm so sick of this negativity. But I mean, realistically, you gotta know what's going on. So, just make sure you're armed. And if you don't like to watch the news, make sure you coupled up, not necessarily romantic, but friend, family member with somebody who does like to watch the news. You know what I mean? So they can say, such and such is happening, and you can go, ooh, let me go turn the TV on and check that out and see what's happening. So anyway, let's see what we got here. Yeah, so anyway, just be prepared for the storms because there's supposed to be a winter snowstorm coming to the northeast, which is the Maryland area, Virginia, DC, Baltimore, all those states, New York, I think New York. I'm not sure which direction, but I know it's coming. So you want to make sure we stay mindful of that. Excuse me. Okay, so the media. I wrote down here a couple of things. Again, you guys, I tell you, this morning was just, and I still kind of feel the energy of just kind of being all over the place. And I always feel like there's a message in whatever it is that's happening to me. And I try to use everything in my world, like everything that's going on around me, to communicate and understand and learn from it. And not everybody is this way, but that's just what I do. So, I don't know. I don't know why I brought up the media, but I think it was just to say that the media is really crazy right now, right? We're all trying to watch the news, like I said, for the weather, for coronavirus, things going on in our communities. We're trying to watch it and understand what's happening. We're watching Facebook and trying to understand what's happening. And sometimes it's really hard to tell what's entertainment and what's actually news. And you can get confused with that, right? And it's hard to gauge. I mean, you have to kind of do it based on what you know and what you feel, using your head and your heart, I think, but I really feel like that doesn't feel quite right. Those kinds of things. That's what I'm talking about. There has to be a balance between the two. And this gets us to the topic of the show. Boundaries and balance, or balance and boundaries. Boundaries, balance and healthy boundaries. Because you can have healthy boundaries and you can have unhealthy boundaries as well. I wanted to tell you a story. There's so many. But I wanted to tell you a story about something that happened to me, actually. And this is one of those rare moments where I am just you know, putting myself out there kind of raw, emotionally naked, as my friend P.L. Dates so eloquently put. I had this, dream. Like anybody who knows me knows I love love, been love, in love with love. I'm just a loving person. I like it. It's natural for me. That's what I do. And in my history of relationships, I've always been, I don't know if keen's the word, or I always feel like being your natural self is important. And I've always known that I love to love, right? So I'm like, I'm a love to the fullest. I should be able to give my whole heart. And you got your girlfriends that are like, nah, girl, you gotta play it. You gotta play the game. You can't let them know how you feeling. You gotta do this till you get to that, and then you gotta do that, and then you gotta do this, and then you could tell him if he reacts like this. I wouldn't play the game, and I would say all the time, I don't want to play the game. I mean, why can't we just keep it real? Why can't we be honest? If you like me and I like you, what's wrong with that? Let's go for it. That's who I've always been. So what has happened over time is, you're in these relationships, right? And you're giving, and you're giving, and you're giving, and you're giving, and giving without just whatever you had in that moment, you're giving. And eventually, right, I started to become, jaded. And after every relationship, I would always say, oh God, please, 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 please don't let me become jaded. I don't want to be like those people out there who are like, nah, whatever it is, right? Because they've been hurt, like in this one relationship. And now to them, every relationship is like that. And I never wanted to be like that. But what was happening to me is that I was slowly becoming this way, but I was covering it up from myself. And I didn't even know it, right? But I wasn't like, it's the way that it came on. It didn't come on like aggressive. It was more passive. So instead of being like, I would be like, okay, cool, I'm probably hanging out or whatever. But the moment, the very moment that they did anything that slightly resembled something I had gone through before, or felt like something I'd gone through before, shutting it down. But it wasn't like, I don't think it was overt. I don't know, if I asked them, they might say something different, but I don't think that it was overt. But it was more like, yeah, nah, I'm cool. I guess that is kind of overt. But it's like, nah, I'm all right, I'm good. Because I can be cold. And we all have that side, right? So anyway, I'm sitting this week, and I'm kind of just thinking about my past as I'm thinking about the topic of boundaries and balance. And I'm thinking about all the things that I've gone through, and, the love I give, the love that I've received back, things that have worked, things that have not worked. And what I recognized is, without having gone through all of those different relationships where I just gave without boundary. And I think somebody is calling me while I'm on the show. Really? Hold on, y'all. Let me just silence my other phone here. Okay. So, what was I saying? Oh, if I had not gone through all these things, right, and had experienced, what it feels like to take love to its limits, right, for me, and getting hurt and what that feels like, I would not have known how to establish boundaries, right? Even with me establishing, like closing myself off, which is really unhealthy, right? You close yourself off. I even went through a phase like that. It wasn't that I didn't want to love. It was just that I felt like, okay, well, I need to evaluate what's going on with me, because I'm tripping. And so, all of this cannot be happening because it's just them, right? It's got to be something with me. So what I recognized was I was not establishing healthy boundaries. Like, it was almost trying to, my love was real, right? I felt what I felt in that moment. It was real, but it was too far. Like, I don't know how to say that. Too far. Because you love a person the way you love them. but you have to establish boundaries about what people can get away with. And it's not all of them, and that's not what I'm trying to communicate here. What I'm really trying to say is there are moments when we have to establish boundaries, even when we love, not for them sometimes for ourselves, right? Because we know, listen, I know I'll take this thing all the way to the end of the wall, and we get ahead of ourselves. And so I often operated thinking only about how I felt and what I'd been through, and not so much about what the other person had gone through. And because of that, I missed important cues, right? Like, ooh, you need to draw back a little bit. And I missed important cues. I don't regret anything because I think that everything happens for a reason. And in my life, I found that everything is a lesson for me. I'm able to glean from my mistakes or my missteps. They're not mistakes, they're missteps. So that I can learn and share what I've learned with other people so they too can learn and look at their lives in the same way. So when we think about that, that's kind of how I think about like boundaries, right? There's certain healthy boundaries you should maintain. You don't have to. Because see, the overall goal is what? Balance. Balance, 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 balance. And so in that particular scenario, which it wasn't a particular story, but in that instance with love and me, right, I would take it too far, and I would compromise my own boundaries. I would say, well, I'm not going past this. If this doesn't happen, or if I'm not comfortable at this point, then I'm just going to say, forget it. And then you don't say forget it because there's an agenda for something else. And you're like, well, if I do a little bit more, then maybe this person will do such and such and such and such. And that's not really a healthy way of living. It's not a healthy way of loving either. So that brings me to the topic of, balance and healthy boundaries. So that's what we're going to get in today. And, I really want to talk about what boundaries are, establishing them, and then give some examples of different boundaries in different situations. I think that's how we're going to approach it. I do not have a guest this week, guys. I'm so sorry. Again, I just don't have them. And that's just what it is this week. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break. And after the commercial, we're going to come back and I'm going to dive a little deeper into the topic. Okay, see you in a little bit.
Oh, not too much sauce, please.
All right, sure.
That's the
Here
one.
you go.
Thank you. Tough.
Are you sure you want to take it away? It's about to pour it down.
It's fine. No
All
worries.
right, take care. Bye-bye.
Singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling, I'm happy again. Up in the clouds, dark up above, sun in my heart, and I'm ready for love. Ready for love, I'm ready for love. Ready for love, I'm ready for love. Yeah. Do 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 do. Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place. Come on with the rain. Got a smile on my face. I walk down the lane with a happy refrain, just singing, singing in the ready for love. I'm ready for love, ready for love. I'm ready for love. Singing in the rain,
Hey everybody, welcome back. I really love that commercial. Just the freedom and the creativity, you know what I mean? And I found it this morning when I was, trying to find something that kind of would emulate something that has to do with boundaries and freedom. And I thought that was the perfect, video. Most people wouldn't go dancing in a hailstorm or whatever that was, right? A hailstorm, those were pretty big pieces of hail. But anyway, most people wouldn't go dancing in it. But it's like, sometimes you have to dance through the turmoil. And to get to your ocean of water, to get to your place of peace, sometimes that's just how you have to do. You can't get to the mountaintop without going through the valley, right? One thing I want to address before I actually move on with the topic is, last week I was looking through the comments, and one of my friends was, talking about how difficult it can be sometimes when you're trying to face your shadows, right? And, it's like, oh my God, why does it have to be so hard? And, I really can feel that. I mean, I really understand that. And it is difficult sometimes, It's not always fun to look at the ugly parts of ourselves. I mean, I just told you about the whole love situation. I'm probably going to go back and look at the video and be like, I can't believe I really did that. But it's the truth. I mean, what am I going to do, right? It's the truth. And I'm just here to give you the truth. It's not always perfect. It's not always pretty. And it's definitely not always easy. As a society, we always try to push our social ills under the table or in a closet or behind a locked door and keep all the niceties out. And that's not keeping it real. That's not balance. That's imbalance. You kind of have to embrace, what did Denzel Washington say? And oh God, I can't believe I can't remember the movie. You guys know what I'm talking about. He said you got to take the crooked with the straight. August Wilson's, what was the name of the play though? I can't think of it right now. But one of the lines was, you have to take the crooked with the straight, and it's true. That's how you maintain balance. It's not about hiding, imperfections or things that don't seem like they're the most perfect. You embrace it, you acknowledge it, but you don't have to wallow in the thing, but at least acknowledge that it's there and find that healthy balance. So when we talk about balance, you kind of have to establish boundaries. They kind of, to me, they go hand in hand. Why? Because we can get so caught up with one way that we forget to slide back to the right to kind of create balance in our life. An example, like people who, I don't know, you're doing something that works, right? Let's say, I don't know, you're making a cake and you make the cake the same way, right? You always make the cake this way. You've never tried anything else. You will continue to make that cake. That probably isn't a good example of a boundary per se, but it is a good example of how we get caught up in a routine of something, right? We do it the same way. What does that do? It prevents us from being creative or exploring another creative avenue of making that same thing, right? You're like, no, I got to stick to what it says on the paper because it says this. Well, if you stick to what it says on the paper, you're never going to know how good it tastes when you put that little cinnamon in there and a little bit more vanilla. Like, you're never going to know that because you only stick to what you see in front of you, what's already been established. So without building on what's already been established or expanding on what's been established, we don't grow, we don't expand, we don't move. So it's good to, I don't know, create a balance. I might be getting off topic a little bit, but the point is, we get caught up in one way of doing things, like in a routine, and it causes us to kind of lean. If you think of a teeter-totter, right, you're like pushing all your stuff over here to this one side, all your focus, right, all your energy is going to this side of the table. This side of the table is raising, and before now you're stuck like this, right, because it's so heavy, you can't go anywhere. There's no movement. So you almost have to shift some of that stuff to the other side to bring it back into balance. And that's kind of what we're talking about. So when we talk about boundaries, when I looked it up, it's a defining line. I like that. There were other, there was a different definition, but the one I really like is the defining line. Sometimes, we have to put the defining line in place. Like, listen, I'm going to do this for you, right? But I'm only going to do this for you, right? Because I don't want to take myself out of my own, not that I want to take out my comfort zone. I know I have other responsibilities and other things that I want to do, but I want to help you. But I'm not like, because what happens sometimes when you help people is they get so used to your help that they start expecting it without even asking you, like, well, can you do this? Are you cool with this? They get so used to getting it, and they're so taken by your talents, right? That they just figure, well, she's on board, they're on board, he's on board. You could do it. There's no problem. Yeah. He'll do it. No problem. And they haven't said, hey, are you okay with this? Do you mind doing this? Does it fit into your schedule? We've all done it at one point or another, right, in our lives where we've, got so used to someone being there and doing something for us that we kind of compromise the line, right? We kind of push past the boundary and ask for more than, maybe we should have, or expected something, and then when we didn't get it, we were upset. So defining boundaries, the defining line, that's kind of what I was thinking about this week. But I was thinking about it more about, in giving too much of ourselves, not so much of other people, like trying to take advantage, but us not respecting, but from the perspective of us not respecting our own defining lines. You know how, you remember, like, have you ever, well, actually I should ask, have you ever had a time when you would say, okay, look, I'm going to do this, but when I go, I'm only going to do this and I'm not doing it anymore. But then when you get there, right, you're doing all this other stuff you said that you wasn't going to do. It's like you compromised your own line, right? And you couldn't get mad then because you said you were going to say no, but as soon as they asked you, what you say? Okay, I'll do all those 8,000,011 things that I really don't want to do right now. I'm going to do it. And so you kind of compromise your line. I wrote a comment down here just about trying to explain the defining line and what I mean by it. Is when we were kids. Remember, we were kids, and parents would kick us out the house. They'd be like, "Go outside and play. Don't come back in here. Go outside and play. But you better be in here by what? When the street lights were on." Everybody knew. Everybody knew. It was not like it was a universal truth then that when the street lights came on, them streets needed to be empty. Like there should be no children, no teenagers outside when them street lights came on. Everybody was supposed to be in the house watching the Cosbys or something. So that was a defining line. We knew what the defining line was. Different friends had different lines. Some of us had to be in before the lights came on. Some were after the light, when the lights were on. You better be in the house. We slide through the door, compromising the line, right? We slide in just as the lights come on so that we don't get in trouble or get put on punishment. So when I talk about a defining line, I mean something like that. But I mean it like in areas of our life that are important, like for things for us. Because, again, like I said earlier, we often compromise our own line. I know I'm talking around in little circles because I'm feeling like I'm talking in circles, but I'm going to get there. So, one of the things that I take issue with, and this might not be popular with some of the people that watch this show. Maybe they won't even watch it. But, it's how I feel about it, and you don't have to agree. You take what resonates and leave the rest. But one of the areas that I really want to talk about the defining line is with church. I grew up in church. My grandmother was She was a saint. I love my grandmother. I miss her so much. Um, I after her passing, it seems like you learn more about the person. I have some of her personal things, and I look through her Bible, and it just kind of connects me to her, and I don't know, it just sometimes, you learn things about people after they've passed on that you didn't know when they were alive, and it just makes you appreciate and love them even more. So anyway, my grandmother, went to church. She kept my mother in church, of course, my mom and, her sisters, and she kept them in church. And then, of course, when my mom raised me, we went to church, we stayed in church. And when I started becoming an adult, I was going to church as well. And then, the truth is I took issue, and because I'm trying to do all these things in church. I'm trying to go to church, be in the choir, direct the choir, raise 2 kids, and go to school full time. And I was running a side business, and I was doing it all by myself. And so it was a lot. And some days, right, I couldn't get to choir rehearsal. But I would know the songs, and I would be like, okay, cool. I know the songs. I know I got to sing on Sunday, and I got it. But there were people in the choir who took issue with that. And they were, I don't know, we would say they were throwing shade, or, they would send a certain energy out. And I would feel that. I was feeling that energy. And I'm like, ain't this supposed to be a church out? People ain't supposed to act like that. That was my thought, right? This is not the way it's supposed to be. This is not how it's supposed to be. It is not supposed to be this way. And so I could not find a way to reconcile it. I couldn't reconcile between all these things I have been taught, the way that the church is supposed to be and how the people are supposed to be, right? And then how I was being treated. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything wrong. I don't understand. And so it caused a rift for me. And I had to, I had to choose, right? I had so many things on my plate. I had to choose. Now, me leaving church did not mean I left God, because I love God, and I will never. In fact, it's not even possible, right? God is always with me. My spirit team is always with me, always take care of me, always read the Bible. So the way I felt was, well, why should I put up with these attitudes when I can be at home doing what I do and read the Bible, talk to my God, and be good? And that's what I did. Now, I'm not advocating that you do that. I'm just, this is just my story. So I stopped going regularly, but I would go, when I could go, get out of class, between, I think I was working on my master's degree at the time. And for this particular program, we had to, deliver a thesis. So anybody who's done a thesis knows that's a lot of work. So between little kids going to basketball, football practice, and all that stuff, it was just a lot. So in between, I would always read the Bible, just like my grandmother did, and communicate with spirit and everything. But as I would go back to church, right, because I pulled back from being in the congregation all the time, like being in the routine of going. And as I started to pull away a little bit and go back kind of intermittently, like whenever I felt a pull, like I was like, you know what, I feel like I need to go to church. I think there might be a message for me today. And so I would go, and there would be a message, right? So instead of, as I did that, it kind of opened my awareness to other things that I was seeing. And this is what brings me to the balance. I started overhearing stories, and people talk about, their tithing, and, how, so-and-so girl, she gave all such and such. She tithed every Sunday. Every month she gives up her tithes and everything. And then, she's over here struggling, trying to, feed her kids. Or one thing I heard was, the pastor, girl, you can't go to this church unless you submit your W-2s. Your W-2s. So these conversations that kept coming up about tithing and that kind of thing is what came up when I was having my meditation bath. There's something I need to say about that. If you look up the history of tithing, the whole idea, and if I'm wrong, somebody can hit me up and let me know. But I researched it, and the whole idea of tithing was for the community to take care of those members of the community who could not take care of themselves, right? So just imagine you've got this big community of people. We all live together. We do all this different stuff. Everybody's got our own, what? Unique gifts and talents. And we lend them to the community. We barter, we sell them, right? And that's what keeps the community powered. That's what keeps them going, right? The baker makes cakes, so I go buy the bread or the cake and I give them, money or whatever. But everybody's got their own unique thing, right? I digress. Everybody's got their own unique thing. So the idea of tithing was that for those people, like let's say the elderly or the sick, right? The people in the community who could not take care of themselves, it was like, okay, listen, guys, what we gonna do, right? They have been productive citizens. They used to be. Now they're too old to work. This person got hurt. They can't do it. This person is sick. They can't do it. But our community needs to continue to thrive. Well, they operated on a different principle. They operated out of love, really. And so, back then the communities were really small and they were tight and they knew everybody. And it was like, well, what are we going to do? So the idea, and I'm paraphrasing you guys, but this is the basic theory. The idea was, well, listen, Janice over here makes bread. And so if she gives, let's say 10% of her bread, then we'll give that. And then Jim can give, 10%. He has livestock. He can give 10% of whatever livestock, so on and so forth. You get the picture, right? The, whatever services, 10% of your time, you donate that. So the church was the place where everything was collected, right? So the tithing and all the tithing was supposed to go to the church. I don't think that it was meant to put anyone out. In fact, I know it wasn't, right? Because it's only 10%, right? But I think what was meant to do was to help support the rest of the community, because back in the day, the church was the cornerstone of the community. If somebody's lights was off, they could go to the church, or if something went wrong, they could go to the church. And they were the cornerstone. And that's where that's where the 10% came from. The idea of giving the 10% was to help the rest of the community, so that it was a place, a safe haven, a place where people could go who needed help. So, of course, over the years, the way we live in our community has kind of evolved, right? People still have livestock. People still, we still have our unique gifts. But most people are like, well, I skip my money. That's fine. No problem with that. There is no problem with giving the 10% to the church. There's nothing wrong with it, giving money as your 10%. But if you don't have the money, don't beat yourself up about that. And don't allow people to push you past your own boundary about what you can and cannot do. If you can't give it, then give something else. 10%. I used to tell my friends this all the time. What you mean? 10% is whatever you could give. I'm raising 2 kids. I'm trying to put food on the table. So, if I have old clothes, or, if I can donate time, whatever you can donate to amount to get you your 10%, that's kind of what I did. Now, I'm not telling you this is what you have to do. I'm just telling you my feelings about it and using it as an example about pushing past your boundaries. And I know that it happens in the church. And a lot of times I really take issue with, I really take issue with pastors who try to guilt people into giving money. You don't have to guilt people. That's not the right way. I just don't think that that's right. Why are you guilting people? Well, you got to give your money to God. God don't need no money. It's God. You know what I'm saying? God doesn't need money. The money is for the community. Give what you can give. And be okay with that. Don't go back beating yourself up. Don't be trying to like not buying your baby some shoes. And maybe that doesn't go on anymore, but it's just an example, right? You don't have to go that far to show your love for God. God already knows. God knows your heart. He knows who you are. You know, and it's really funny about that. Speaking of which, I remember back in the day, and I'm sure a lot of you remember, like, you know how you would be somewhere and people would say, what would they say? They'd say, don't cuss. It'd be a Sunday. Don't cuss on Sunday. I'm like, you saying don't cuss on Sunday. Like, God don't see you the rest of the week. Like, spirit is everywhere. Like, there's no, just because you can't see spirit doesn't mean spirit can't see you. So this don't cuss on Sunday, or, you know, doing stuff behind closed doors, you thinking nobody can see, somebody sees. It's not a secret. It's your secret. In your mind, it's a secret. It may be a secret from a particular person, but God sees it all. So anyway, I didn't mean to turn this into that kind of conversation, but you know, it was important to me and it was on my mind, and there it is. I just think that, you know, you can honor your faith and you can honor your church and you can honor your community while still honoring yourself. And that's really the point I'm trying to make. But when we talk about boundaries, those are the kind of boundaries I'm talking about. Don't take yourself so far out of your own comfort zone that you're miserable trying to help someone else. I don't think that's not really the idea. That's not love. That's really not love, right? Because a lot of different things can come of that. Now you're upset because you don't have. And who can you be upset with? Only yourself, because you gave too much, right? And I know somebody's probably out there like, what you mean giving too much? Can you give too much? You can. You can. When you give so much that you're depleting yourself to make someone else happy, which is not your job, you've compromised your own boundary. You've compromised the line. And you have to bring it back into balance. You can give, but you also have to reserve something for yourself. Because if you keep giving and you have nothing left, then what? You're no good to anybody, not even to yourself. So it's important. It's important with the church. It's important, you know, on the job. It's important with your family. And you know how family can be. Oh, girl, we family. I know you're not going to tell me no. Sometimes you got to say no, y'all. You know, you work and work and do and do. And sometimes you get tired and you need to rest and you have to say no. I think what I was thinking about that, the image, you know, because I always get these stories, right? 'Cause storyteller, I get the stories. So the story I got was, you know, someone who kind of grew up in a household where they had to take what they were getting, you know, like weren't treated the best. You know, we all think we all went through something in our own minds, right, in our childhood, but you know, you're not treated exactly the best, or you don't understand why you're being treated the way you're treated, but you deal with it, right? What else are you going to do? You know, you depend on this family to feed you, to keep you, you know, clothed, warm, fed, and all of that until you can grow up, be an adult, and get out on your own. And you honor that. I mean, and you should honor that. But when you become an adult, right, you step out, you do your thing, you got your, you know, you like, oh, yeah, you know, you breaking all the limits, you got it going on. Now they're looking at you like, well, where's mine? And you're like, what? What? Where's mine? What do you mean? Oh, so you got it. Oh, so you so big now you can't help us. And it's not always like that, you know, and you're like, okay, well, let me do a little something, you know, let me try to do this. But you're still trying to forge your way over here, and you're still trying to maintain this because you're trying to show like this loyalty to your family. But sometimes you have to establish a boundary with them. Listen, I'm going to do this. Let's just say it's money. Listen, I'm going to send you $600 a month to help support whatever is going on. And, you know, I'm going to check in with you. I'll visit when I can. But that's what I'm going to do. And that's kind of your way of kind of paying, you know, giving back. But sometimes their family members are like, no, but I know you're giving $600, but can you come do this, and can you come do that, and can you fix that, can you pay for that? You know, they take it too far is where I'm going. So again, you have to set a healthy boundary, right? So I think I don't know why this particular topic came up. Maybe it's because somebody out there really needs, you know, to hear it. I think sometimes we do things in the name of love, right? Whether it's love of family, love of job, love of people, love of community, love of church, love of whatever. And we do things in the name of love, and we either don't set a boundary, we don't set boundaries, healthy boundaries for ourselves, and then we get upset with the other, we get upset with the people who we feel are taking advantage of us, or we set soft boundaries or boundaries that we compromise ourselves, right? And I think that we just need to be mindful of our boundaries and how far we go with those in mind, right? We need to understand what our defining line is so that we can stay balanced and, stay in a good energy, not just for ourselves, but for other people. We're not responsible for how other people feel. If you ask me, can I do something, and I can do it, then I'll do it. But if you ask me, can I do something, and I don't feel comfortable doing it, right? It's not a matter of whether I can or can't. I'm not comfortable, and I tell you no, right? Then whatever you feel after that is really not on me. You're asking me. My defining line is here. This is where my comfort zone is. I don't really want to push past that. There's a reason, whatever the reason is, right? Yeah, I get it, but no, I'm going to stay over here. And that's what you honor. And, that's between you and yourself, where your defining lines are. The only thing that I would submit or suggest to you is, when you are establishing your defining lines, make sure they're not based on misinterpreted information, if that makes sense. Sometimes when we get hurt, we establish like an unhealthy boundary, like to keep everybody out because we think we're going to be hurt again. It's not really a healthy boundary because you can't grow, you can't love, you can't do the good things, the healthy things, if you restrict yourself. I mean, restriction has its purpose too, right? Sometimes we need to be restricted. But I'm just saying to take it all into consideration, when you're establishing your defining lines, ask yourself, okay, why is this in place? Am I hiding, or if I really am I in fear, or am I doing this in love? And I read a book. It said there's only two reasons why you do things. You either do it out of fear, or you do it out of love. And it's like if you're doing it out of fear, that's not the right reason, and it calls for you to kind of dig into that and figure out why that is. But if you're doing it out of love, then it's all good, right? Okay, you guys, I think I'm at the end of my timeline. I'm at my defining line. So I have a quote here, and it's something that just came to me one day. I don't know, probably cleaning the kitchen. It says, love does not sacrifice itself to be loved. It exists as it is. I don't know, that seems appropriate, right? Love doesn't sacrifice itself to be loved. You don't have to sacrifice yourself, to be able to be a good person or do good things. You have to honor yourself as well as honoring other people. Before we go, I do want to talk about the mindfulness moment. This week, let's do something connecting with nature. Go outside, touch a tree, sit by a tree, meditate. If it's too cold, dig in your plants, just something to connect you with nature. Be outside, take in the fresh air. Play in the snow if that's what you have around you. Just connect with nature. It's important. It raises your vibration. And so that's what we've got for the mindfulness moment. Listen, you guys, I appreciate your time this morning. I know it was a little bit of a weird show, but sometimes that's just what it is, And I probably said that last week too, because last week it was a little strange. I don't know, maybe some energy going on around here. I have no idea. But at the end of the day, be authentic and be real to yourself. what I tell my kids, be authentic and unmoved. So anyway, take care of yourself this week. Love yourself and love others. Be good to yourself, be good to others, right? God bless you. Love and light, miracles and blessing. And I will see you next Saturday.